Okay. All right, I'm pretty loud as it is, so I don't expect there to be too many problems with that. All right, so this is burping for joy and financial gain. As you can imagine, we're going to be talking about Burp Suite, right, the tool by Portswigger. As far as kind of the title and where it came from, I've always told myself that I would never go to or give a talk that had for fun and profit in it. And so this is my way of using that without actually using it. It's a little troll against myself. So who am I? Landmaster53, for those of you that are into the Twitter thing and social media, you can usually find me by that handle. A husband, father, and veteran. Those are my priorities in life. A coder. So I do some coding. I wrote a tool called ReconNG and a couple things, Honey Badger framework. I really enjoy writing code. I've been doing it for most of my life. It's kind of where my passion lies in software, which is kind of how I got into application security in the first place. It really was a natural transition for me. I also consider myself a breaker. As of next Tuesday, I will be a freelance consultant working under my own company called Practical Security Services. Currently, I work for a company called Invisium, which is a software security firm. I'm a teacher, independent instructor. I used to teach for SANS, used to teach at Black Hat, and so on and so forth, but lately I've kind of taken training over on my own under my company's LLC, and I teach a course called Practical Web Application Penetration Testing, PWAPT. You may have seen it or heard of it around. So I do the teaching thing. It is a Portswigger Burp Suite or Portswigger preferred training class for Burp. So it's on their website and stuff if you're interested in that. You learn a lot about Burp in that class, a whole lot. Some of the stuff we're going to talk about here are things that I expand on a little bit more in the class. I'm also a sharer. I blog and post things and my projects and everything at www.linemaster53.com. And I do all of this stuff because it's what I believe I was created to do, and I find great joy in serving out my God-given purpose. So that's why I'm here today. All right, so my outline. You can see where you are right now. Got a little bit of disclaimer, talk about some of the content that we're going to chat about. First, we'll start off with some boring stuff that you probably already know, but the reason we're going to talk about it is because I probably learned it a little bit later in my professional life than you did, and I think to poke fun at myself a little bit, and maybe perhaps some of you will learn something new when we talk about those. Then we'll talk about some things that will get your attention, some ways to use Burp that you may not have thought of using it before, but ways it wasn't really intended to be used, but all of this working with practical scenarios of how we can use it for as penetration testers or as application testers. And then we'll get into some new stuff that you actually really want to see, some cool stuff, some things that I've been doing with it that isn't groundbreaking, it's not like revolutionary or anything, but it's super helpful when it comes to testing applications with Burp. And then hopefully, you'll gain from this some sort of joy or the ability to make more money. So probably, we'll see, maybe not. So our disclaimer here, like I said, some of the stuff is really basic stuff. It's built into Burp, it's there, it's been there for a long time. You may have seen it, you may not have. So just keep that in mind. Like if in the first 15 minutes, if you're a little bit bored, stick with it. We'll get into some cool stuff. Some of the things that we'll talk about, maybe Burp already does it a different way that's better. Maybe you already know about it. In that particular instance, that we also like if you have a way that you use Burp that's different than I do or present here, but you find it to be as or better in terms of its usage and how you would apply it, by all means bring it to me. Let's compile those thoughts and those ideas and those techniques and then publish them somewhere. Okay? But basically this is just a demonstration of the way that I do things. This is the way that I use the tool. That's kind of how I approach all my talks and even my training classes. I'm just going to teach you based on my experience. And that's kind of what I'm here to do. So naturally, take that with a grain of salt. So the first thing I want to talk about within Burp, like I said, simple stuff, is this ability to rename tags in certain tools within Burp, like repeater and Intruder. So you guys can tease me as much as you want about this, but this is actually something I've only discovered in like the past 60 days. I couldn't believe it when I found it either. The reason I ran into it is because I was testing some SOAP web services, and I'll show you here in a minute what this will kind of look like. But once you get a SOAP web service in Burp, you're kind of manipulating it, maybe you're fuzzing some parameters, it's not real super clear what the intent of that web service is just looking at the request. And if you have a bunch of them loaded in a repeater and you got all these tags like 1 through 20, you don't really have a point of reference on where to revisit that information at a later time. And so by the ability to rename these things, it certainly helps moving forward. That also is true for things like when you're fuzzing. When you're fuzzing a lot of different endpoints with Intruder, right? You might want to be able to name those things so later on in the week or later on in the assessment, when you go back and you want to refuzz or relook at some of those results, you at least can look at those tabs very quickly and see where you're at. So let's bounce over here to Burp and PwnHub real quick, and I'll kind of show you how and why I use it that way. So PwnHub is an application that I wrote. The source is available. I don't necessarily consider it open source in the sense that I don't care if you use it for personal practice and demonstrations and stuff like this, but I would prefer folks not take it and then use it in a class or something to make money with it. That's kind of my intent for it. So I'm sharing the source code. It's a Flask app, so it's written in Python, and it uses some React on the front end and some other stuff as well. But this will be kind of the app that we use to demonstrate everything that we're doing today. All right. So basically, I've got a SOAP web service built into this thing. And here it is. And of course, if you want to pull down the WSDL file for it, you have a WSDL file here. And if you use Burp, then you may or may not have played with this extension called WSDLer, which is a really nice extension that will parse WSDL files and give you the ability it'll create a sample request for the SOAP web service, and then it'll give you the ability to interact with it and fuzz different parameters and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go and find this in my history where I loaded that WSDL file. Right click on it, parse it. And if we click over here in WSDLer, you'll see that we have one operation in this service called tools info. Okay, here is very plain to see. We can see this. It's obvious. Now here, if we click on that, we have our sample request. We can right click it, send it over to repeater, and then here in repeater we have our sample request. And now we can sit here, we can replay this, we can manipulate parameters, so on and so forth, and tinker with the web service. And then we may have 35 other operations that we want to do that with. Well, if you look here within repeater, it's just got this one there. And if you look down within the service, there's nothing real obvious within the payload that tells us we're dealing with the tools info operation of a web service. And so the ability to come up here and just say, okay, I'm dealing with tools info here, and you just double click the tab, tools info, and now you've got a reference that you can go back to. I literally had 35 web services open about 2 months ago. I was like, this is just terrible to manage. I have no idea what I'm going back to. I kept having to reparse WSDLs and re-export operations into repeater and so on and so forth. And the ability to rename these tabs was just something that I was like, you know what? I don't know if anybody's like me and doesn't know about this, but they need to. So I'm going to share it. And we've done that now. And I'm going to prepare for a future demo here just by showing you or repeating this once and just kind of showing you the operation there. So that's renaming tabs. So this next feature that's already built into Burp, very common, a lot of folks use it, is this ability to grab information out of Intruder responses. Okay, so Intruder is great for a whole lot of things, right? We can do fuzzy vulnerabilities there. We can conduct full-fledged threaded automation or automated authentication attacks, like usernames, passwords, user information, so on and so forth. But wouldn't it be awesome if we could take, we're left with kind of these columns of data in Intruder, right? We can do some analysis based on response type. We can do some analysis based on the size, and redirect certain parameters, so on and so forth. But sometimes we want to be able to pull information back from that, right? So I'll show you here in a minute. We're going to demonstrate how we can automate authentication attacks with that. But what about like insecure direct object reference attacks? Right? If there's a piece of sensitive information that's a result of an IDOR vulnerability, well, maybe we want to harvest that information. And the way that we can do that is by setting into Burp, running through all the direct object references, and then extracting that useful data out of it, and pulling it out of Burp, and then using it whatever you want to do with it. I've actually seen people write full-fledged Burp extensions, right? All the work that goes into that, just to do that kind of behavior when it's already built into the tool. And it's done through these things called grep rules within Intruder, okay? So let's go ahead and look at this real quick. If we go into our PwnHub application, the place I want to focus here is in our forgot password field. So real quick, to try to determine whether we have user enumeration here or not, we can put in an obviously fake user, like this. And it says user not recognized. Okay, I already kind of know where this is going, right? And if I enter my actual username, what do I get? I get a security question, okay? So now I know I have user enumeration behavior. I can go harvest some sample usernames and then and come back and test to see if they're valid, right? Gives me 50% of what's required to authenticate. The only thing left is the password. But there's something else on this page that's important to me. The security question, right? Now, if I have 3,500 users that I want to test, and say out of 3,500, maybe only 350 come back with valid users, I want to be able to harvest all of those security questions, because then I can go do some open source intelligence, maybe guess the answer to a couple of those, and through this process, perhaps reset somebody's password. This is an actual attack that's gotten me into several Fortune 500 companies over the years, because they're using some sort of in-band password reset like this. And all it took was being able to harvest that information for large numbers of potential usernames. So let's go in here and let's see what this looks like in Intruder, because we want to attack this. All right, so, all right, we have our base request, our post. Let's right-click it, and we'll send it over to Intruder. Positions, the only position we want is the username here. We're just replicating the behavior that we just did in the application itself. And for our payloads, I'm just going to use a simple list here. We'll type in some of the ones we already knew. We tried fake user. We'll do Tim. We'll do admin. We'll do hacker princess, Cooperman, and then whatever. Okay, so we've got some usernames in there. And we can go ahead and actually, I think we need to set this to follow redirects as well, just because of the way the application behaves. And then we'll start the attack. And very quickly, we can actually come up here and sort by length and see that we have this 2447, 2447, 2447, 2447, and then a difference in size. And very quickly, based on the behavior we've already analyzed, we know that Tim, admin, hacker, princess are probably valid users. Maybe even Cooperman there. We can go in and we can analyze that. But the idea here is to talk about these rules, and that'll help us kind of even further determine this. And so once we have this information, we're like, okay, we can determine which ones are valid and invalid users, but I still want that security question. If we go into options and we scroll down here, there's this section called grep extract. And if we add a rule here, what it does is Burp will go ahead and make a base request to that endpoint and give us the resulting HTML. And then we can come down in here and find the information we're interested in. In this particular case, it's going to be the security question, favorite food. And if you notice here, and this is kind of a cool feature in Burp, as you highlight this, watch what happens up above. As you highlight that, it begins to build either a defined set of string parsing rules or regular expressions for extracting that information out of the payload. So once I do that, I usually use regex just because I'm more comfortable with regex than I am string parsing. Just select that, I've got the regex, hit OK, and if I come back to my results, what do I see? I've now extracted that information. And now not only do I know which users are valid, but I also know the password reset questions. I can now go do some open source intelligence research, figure out maybe the answers to some of those, and come back to this process and try to reset somebody's password. So those grep rules are really awesome for a lot of different things, and I encourage you to find interesting, or to use them if you're trying to get data out of your fuzzing requests. They're perfect for that. That's what they're intended for, right? And we'll come back and I'll show you here towards the end of the talk. We'll talk about some of the limitations of this and how we solve that problem as well. But grep rules are certainly worth taking a look at. All right, so let's talk about some of the stuff that perhaps isn't totally obvious within Burp. The first one being this thing called method interchange. For those of you that don't know what method interchange is, it's the verb agnostic retrieval of parameters by the server. So what the heck does that mean? All right, if you're kind of familiar with HTTP, but maybe not, there's this thing called GET requests and POST requests, and there's a whole lot of other methods and verbs as well, but those are the two main ones. And basically the gist is you can send parameters to the server in two different places. You can put it inside the URL, or you can put it inside the payload of a request. Like if you fill out a form, you click submit. If you don't see those parameters up inside the URL, then they were sent as part of a payload, a post payload. Okay? And so the idea is that if you don't, like the developer on the server side has the ability to either say, I only want to take parameters from the URL, I only want to take parameters from the payload, or I'll take it from anywhere, just find it for me. Okay? So the problem with method interchange comes when the developer does that last thing. when they just say, give this parameter, I don't care where you give it. Because what happens is if you use a post request, and you've got a CSRF or a cross-site request forgery or a cross-site stripping vulnerability in a post payload, it's much more difficult to exploit somewhere. You can't just send them a URL that has the payload in it, and they click on it and it exploits them. You have to do some trickeration on a third-party server, and also do some redirects. It's not simple. But trying to attack somebody through CSRF or XSS using a GET request, raw declaration on the URL, super simple. You just literally send them a link, click on this, or you just embed that link inside of a page somewhere, and when they surf across it, it gets requested, and it's done, no user interaction. So if I can find a vulnerability in a post, and I can change it to a GET, that enhances the risk of that particular vulnerability. And so we want to test for this thing called method interchange. All right? We can do that a couple different ways. We can go over to a repeater and we can manually modify it. We can change from post to GET. We can remove the content type header. We can remove the payload from down to the body of the request up to the URL. We can do all that manually. Or we can just use a somewhat hidden feature in Burp to do all that for us and save us the couple of minutes that it would take to do that. So it's super simple. We're going to conduct a quick attack against the profile page. So I'm going to log in as Tim. If Tim's even a user here, he is. Okay, good. Go to the profile page, and I have the ability to change my profile. This is one of those things where if I can conduct a cross-site request forgery attack against this, that's pretty awesome. So let's click Submit. Account information successfully changed. Great. And basically what I was just doing is priming Burp. I want to get this request inside Burp so that we can test for this method interchange. So what kind of request is this here? It's a post, right? Post request. And obviously it'd be a little bit more difficult to exploit this because all the possibly vulnerable parameters, I'm just going to tell you it's vulnerable, all the possible vulnerable parameters are down here inside the post. But I want it to be a GET. And the way that I test for that, could manually change it like we talked about, or if you right click, there's an option here, change request method. It's that simple. Click it and it does all the work for you. So the way that you would do that is you would first, in fact, I'm going to change the request method back. You would just hit go as a post and analyze the response, and you can see here it redirects back to profile, 302 found. You could follow the redirect if you wanted to, and it's just sending you right back, and there's no error in this HTML anywhere. Then you would switch it over. Actually, I'm using a GET right now, aren't I? Oh, that's because it was the redirect. My bad. All right, so the initial post, we check the response. Then we go back and we change the request method. We do the same process again. And if it's exactly the same, then we know we've got the vulnerability, right? If the server still parses the parameters from a URL, just like it did from the post payload, then we know we've got method interchange, and Burp gave us a really fast and easy way to test for that. Okay. All right, so this next one was a game changer for me. This completely changed how I use Burp to test applications from an automated perspective, right? I think most really seasoned testers are going to use manual testing for the most part anyway, and rely on Burp Scanner to do some augmentation. But this particular capability right here completely changes that approach. All right, so Burp Scanner is one of the best scanning engines, right? I think most of us that have been around the industry for a while would agree to that. One of the main reasons is because the guys that write Burp and maintain it are some of the guys that are releasing new web vulnerabilities every year at Black Hat. So far, the past 2 years in a row, James Kills released a new vulnerability at Black Hat, which was already in the Burp scanning engine they have released at the same time as it's fall. Right? So they are early adopters, if not the launching point, for many new signatures that the other web app scanners aren't even aware of yet on the day that they drop. So Burp Scanner, great scanning engine. But anybody that's used it knows that the wizard is incredibly annoying, right? The thing is, you've got to go through and look at all the different requests and select the ones you don't want to scan, and you just got to go through this configuration piece, and then it ends up suffering from a lot of the same problems that your other web application scanners do, and having a lot of duplicate work. So when you go through that wizard, you look at the different requests it's going to scan, it may scan the same request 3 different times because there's a change in one parameter between those 3. And so you're duplicating scans against the other 9 parameters, or whatever it is, just to see if just to scan that one. It's not super intelligent in that regard, and it really can't be. So that's a problem. It also requires babysitting. Anybody that's used an automated scanner knows you've got to sit there and make sure that it stays logged in, right? That it doesn't log out of the application and result in a ton of false positives, right? It requires babysitting like any other scanner does. And like the other scanners, you can configure it to detect when it's logged out, log back in, but even that is just, it's difficult work. And then the other thing is that they never finish, right? If you've got a 1 week or 2 week engagement and you start the scanner, it may run for that entire week or two. It suffers the same problems as all of your other automated scanners. But wouldn't it be nice if we could use the logic and the signatures and all that capability that the scanning engine has in a much more controlled fashion? Something that we have a little bit more control and we can be more precise in how we apply it. And there is a way to do that, okay? So what I want to do is I want to go back here and go back to repeater to our web service request that we made earlier, because this is a really good way to show this. Another thing I'll talk about when I get to it. Let's go ahead and send this over to Intruder. So this is what you would do. Obviously, this one right here is a place that we may want to fuzz. That's the input parameter for this SOAP request, is where that one is. And we're going to want to fuzz that. All right, so we can right-click on it and send it over to Intruder. Okay, and let's look at the positions. So one of the things I want to point out here is you see all the highlighted areas? Those are the things that Burp identified as possible input parameters. Okay? It successfully identified that one right there as an input parameter, as an injectable parameter here. But that's not always the case. If the application is a little bit wonky in terms of the format of the XML, or maybe the content type settings, or so on and so forth, it may not identify certain things as being an injectable parameter. And what that means is that if it's not marked here, then the scanner is not seeing it when you use the wizard. And the ability to do things the way I'm about to show you will give you the capability to come in and force the scanning engine to scan a particular parameter. And I'm going to show you an example a little bit of where that actually happens. So we have all these things pre-highlighted, and we just want to get rid of the ones that we're not interested in fuzzing right now. So just clear them all out, and we have the one left, our injectable parameter. Now, if you right-click anywhere within this request, you see the option in all of its glory. Actively scan defined insertion points. Show of hands of people that knew about this. I don't see nearly enough hands. Like, nearly enough. This changed the game for me, I'm telling you, because what this gives us the ability to do now is in a very, very precise way, only scan the things that we want to. It reduces the amount of noise we make if we're trying to be stealth. It reduces the amount of danger that we create when we just go out and buzz an entire application, especially when it's in a production environment. It gives us a lot more control. All right, so let's actively scan this defined insertion point. We go up to the scanner. We look at the queue, and it's already finished because everything's local and it's super fast. And we can see immediately it found a SQL injection vulnerability within that web service. I can't confirm for you with you. There is SQL injection there, right? But that gave us the ability to find that very, very quickly. We didn't have to wait for the wizard. See, I spent a lot of time manual testing, and I will identify different parts throughout the application where I'm like, I've been around long enough. I know that parameter. It's probably vulnerable. I'm going to hit it with a scanner. And I can use this tool to just hit that one without having to loop in the entirety of the application. So scanning defined injection points, big time win, okay? All right, so now let's get into some unintended functionality. The first one is this idea of being able to test for TLS stripping, previously known as SSL stripping. I'm not trying to change the name because SSL is kind of old school. TLS is what it's actually called. All right, who here's heard of SSL or TLS stripping before? All right, Moxie Mullins released, I think, in 2008 at Blackout. But it's essentially this vulnerability where it's a man-in-the-middle attack against HTTPS connections where, your typical man-in-the-middle attack will have to re-sign with an untrusted cert. You get that alert that says, hey, wait a second, this is untrusted, you should not go here. Big time visual cue to the user or to the victim that they're being man-in-the-middle. That their TLS connection is being man in the middle. Well, this is a different kind of man in the middle attack against TLS connections where you don't get that visual cue. And the reason being is because it brokers kind of a half encrypted connection. And it takes advantage of browser default behavior. So when you go into your browser's URL bar, you type in www.whatever.com, it makes that initial request over HTTP, clear text, no encryption. That request goes entirely to the server, and the server says, hey, I want you to be encrypted. And it sends a redirect back, forcing the browser to then request over TLS. But that handshake right there, that back and forth, provides an attacker in the middle to say, oh, wait a second, I see that clear text request. I'm going to go ahead and make an encrypted connection to the server. And then I'm going to strip everything that is related to TLS off of it, HTTPS, secure cookies, so on and so forth, and then broker an unencrypted connection with my victim. So I've got an unencrypted connection here and an encrypted connection here, and I'm going to have in the middle that can see everything. That's the idea of TLS stripping. The only visual cue to that particular attack is the fact that you don't have that little green lock or the little word secure or whatever that little thing is up in the upper left-hand corner that says it's encrypted. And I'll show you right quick in a demonstration what that looks like. All right. So going over here into Burp, or actually let's go to the browser first. I don't have TLS encryption on PwnHub, so I'm going to use my website. So let's get rid of the HTTPS and just do Landmaster 53, because remember, we're taking advantage of default behavior, and I should have internet. Okay. So going here into Burp, let's look at our history. And what we should see is exactly what we do see, which is Landmaster53.com says, hey, I only do under www. So it remakes the connection, redirects over to www, and then what does the server do? It says, wait a second, I don't want you over HTTP, I want you over HTTPS. Okay, and it redirects over to HTTPS. So that's that opportunity to get in the middle. How do we test for that? Well, we can go over to our proxy settings, options, and if you go into your proxy and you click edit, there's this ability to force the use of SSL. And basically what this does is it says, Burp, I don't care what you get from the browser. When you send a request to the server, always try to do it over a TLS connection. All right, so that's the first step in this. Once we do that, we've got Burp behaving the way we want it to, but we're going to get all these responses with references to HTTPS, with secure cookies, secure flags on cookies, and so on and so forth. So if we scroll down, we have this ability to convert HTTPS to HTTP and remove secure flags from cookies. Now, if we go back and we do this same exercise, let me clear the history to get out any 301 redirects. We hit enter. Did I get a pop-up at all that said that I am an untrusted server? Am I encrypted at all at this point? No. So the only visual cue is this. The connection is not secure, right? It's not super alarming to the user. It's not a real big visual cue. But I am now successfully man-in-the-middling this traffic, even though it was supposed to be over TLS. Okay? And if we go back to our history, we can see what happened here. Actually, I don't see the clear text. Maybe that's it right there. Well, regardless, you see it in the browser, right? It's unencrypted. So there was a protocol designed to protect against this. It's HTTP strict transport security, and it basically gives the browser this HTTPS everywhere type feel, right? Which means it gives the server or developer has the ability to tell a browser, don't ever request me over clear text again. And that gets rid of that initial behavior of that redirect, right? Your browser, when you go in and you type landmaster53.com, will immediately make that request over TLS instead of the default clear text. And we want to test that. We want to test for the existence of this control. And the way that we do that is using this TLS stripping approach right here. Okay? So another fun way to use Burp in an unintended fashion. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to reset this so that I don't goof up future demos. Let's turn that off and uncheck these boxes. Okay. So the next unintended use for this is this ability to identify sitemap changes. Who here has used that back boxes before? Show hands. Good, only two. I was hoping to see no hands. But regardless, for those of you that have seen use that before, it's got a feature that I actually like. It's probably the only thing I like about it. And it's that when you manually map the application, and when you go and you use this automated slider functionality, all the new stuff that the slider finds will be, well, I have this little spider icon next to it. That's a really good visual cue that, hey, I found all this stuff, like Burp is telling you, or Zach is telling you, I found all this stuff that you didn't already see. Burp doesn't have the capability built into it. So when you go and you manually map an application in Burp, and then you go and you use the slider to fill in all the gaps, you literally have no idea when you look at the sitemap what it actually found that you didn't already see. And then to me, there's extreme value in me physically looking at a page of the application because I can see things in the logic that the spider may not understand. Okay? So I want to be able to see each page, and I want to be able to see the things that I did in that Burp found. So I can go back and look at them. Okay? It's very, very important to me as a tester. Burp doesn't do that. And so I complained about this when I was teaching the BWT class in early 2016, and one of my students said, why don't we try this? And I was like, that's a fantastic idea. This is this plan right here. Let's highlight everything that we know about the application in our before state, run the automated tool, whatever it is, and then look at all the unhighlighted items, and it will have that visual cue of what new was found. And I'm like, that's a great idea, let's do it, right? So let's run through this real quick. I'll show you what it looks like. And this ends up being something that I now use on every single assessment. It's just a fantastic idea. So the first thing we want to do is hide. I only want to show, show only, where's the thing I'm looking for? Only requested items. So that's the stuff that I've actually requested. All right, so within my particular target here, if I look at contents, you can see everything that I've requested at this point. And I'll add a few more of those. I'll go up here and we'll log in. We already are logged in. We'll click on a few of these. I need to log in. We'll click on a few of these things, artifacts, tools, games. Right, so we've mapped some of the application. Right, so we go back here and we look and we can see that, okay, we've got a decent amount here. What I want to do is I want to highlight all of these. And I'll go in and I'll highlight it. And then now if I go up to my spider tab, I can see that there are 39 requests in the queue and 6 forms. So Burp doesn't mess with things that we haven't necessarily requested yet. It wants to go request those for us. So we'll just let the spider do its thing. And then of course you look at the forms. We've already logged in, so we don't need to spider that one again. Registration, normally we would have mapped this already, so I'm just going to ignore it. Log in again. Registration again, and so on and so forth. So I got through, spider has ran. If I go back to my target now, anything that's not highlighted is new. As new functionality that I wasn't aware of before. And I want to now focus on this to go back and look at those manually to see if there's any components within those pages that I may want to make a note to go back during discovery. Because during mapping, you're doing flow control, you're identifying areas of particular sensitivity, and so you might want to go back and do that same type of analysis with these now unhighlighted parts. Right? So super simple, but something that's missing that we can now go back and add because of some other unintended features here. So really like that capability. That's something that's been super helpful to me. Okay, so Burp does a lot of things, right? And I guess virtue of the extender, or the ability to write extensions, it literally probably can't do everything, but it can't do everything natively, right? It does a lot of things, a lot of awesome things, but it can't do everything natively. So when all else fails, what do? We write extensions, okay? That's what the community does. We write extensions, and that's why that extensible or extension capability is there. But we don't use Java. We don't use Java, right? I can't stand Java. Like if you got a Java app and want to do work, don't even call me. At all. I stay away from it, almost like Ruby. Right? So, no Java. No Java. Now, we could use Java, right? To kind of bridge that gap between Python and Java. I mean, you can write extensions in Java. And we could do that. But somebody's already done most of the hard work for us when they wrote this Python scripter extension. So, what the Python scripter extension does is it's already got all of the Java Burp integration stuff taken care of, and it just gives us a tab inside Burp that's a blank canvas. And we can write Python code to do anything we want within the context of Burp right inside that scripter tab. All the overhead done for us, and the developer has exposed enough objects from within Burp into the Python scripter tab so that we can literally do anything we want. We can determine whether we're dealing with requests or responses from Intruder, from Repeater, from the proxy. We can determine whether we're dealing with a request or a response. And then we have the entire Python library at our disposal to parse things out, to do calculations, and it just has become extremely handy over the years. I'm going to go through 4 different examples, or 3 different examples of things where Burp wasn't able to do it, but Python scripter was. The biggest problem I found when I started going down the path of using it was just like 0 documentation. I'll show you the links that I came across when I was trying to research how to do this. So I'm going to start building out some documentation. But this first module, or this first script that I'm going to show you, will give you a head start in starting to build your own Python scripter scripts, because it will give you information about what's exposed to the script for us, or programmatically. Okay? So help is on the way in that area, and it starts right here. Okay? So this is idea of introspection, right? And that's the ability to look at all of the different objects that are exposed to us within the context of the script. And that includes the different methods, the different properties, and so on and so forth that exist there. So we can figure out, if we want to get to a very specific part of Burp and do a very specific thing, well, we can start to look through what's exposed to us through these objects and then figure out how to get there, okay? So this is very, very rudimentary base level documentation. There's not a ton here, but at least gives you a starting point. And so I wrote this script to kind of just give you that information so you can get a head start. And this is where I'm going to develop a lot of the documentation for this extension out. But really as simple as just copying the code, right? And then you take it over, and if you didn't notice it before, you'll notice it now, the script tag. And I already have a script in there, so let me delete that. So you have the script tag, and it just looks like this when you open it. It's blank. So I'm going to paste my script in there, and it does a couple of different things. This one's pretty basic. It just looks for a request. It just says, hey, if I see a request coming through the proxy, then I'm going to do these things. And it loops through those APIs, and it prints out the functions, and it prints out methods, and it does another thing. It gives you some information about what's exposed in the context of the scripter. So I'm just going to go in Repeater, and I'm just going to launch this thing. And then under Extender tab, Python scripter output, you see this is kind of the standard out for our script. You see all the information in there. Now, those of you that don't do Python, this probably looks like a foreign language to you. But those of you that do Python and have played on the interpreter, you've ran the Burp command before, you've ran the help command before, you've looked inside of objects. This is all that information that you need. And you can take this little script right here and extend it and say, well, I want to print out this variable and see what the contents are. You can take it, you can extend it, you can play with it a little bit more, and then all your feedback comes right back here inside of the Extender tab in this UI output text block. Okay, so that's kind of nice, right? Now you have some place where you can actually begin to dig into what Python scripter does and utilize some of its functionality. But let's look at how we can actually practically apply this stuff. All right. So custom passive scanning checks. Right, Burp, great scanning engine, also has a really nice passive scanning engine, a lot of signatures and things that it looks for. But one thing that I like to look for in applications that Burp doesn't is any text field that doesn't have autocomplete enabled. And the reason being is because what if the text field is a social security number or a credit card number? It's kind of difficult for a scanning engine to anticipate what the name of that particular parameter is going to be, so they just don't look for it. But I look for it. And so what I wanted to do was make sure I had a place where I could parse out every single form input that was a type of text, and then put it somewhere where I could look at the results and determine whether or not there's any sensitive form fields with autocorrect on it. Okay? Well, the other thing I wanted to do is I was like, wouldn't it be really great if I could just add it to Burp's the scanner checks, right? Where you go and look at all the different vulnerabilities it's found. And it turns out you can do that right here within Python scripter. And you see that with this custom issue object up there. Okay? So we can do our regex parsing, we can determine whether it's vulnerable or not, and we can create an issue all in about what? 20, 30 lines of code. Right, so let's actually take this one and see what that looks like. Copy it. Overwrite this in here. And then we'll go in the application And actually, let's look at our vulnerabilities first. So we'll go to target, we'll look at issues. And you can see this one password field with autocomplete enabled, but you don't see anything else there, do you? You don't see anything else about autocomplete. If I go here to the application and I go over here to messages, this is obviously a form, correct? What do I have there? Text field with autocomplete enabled, right? And if I go down, I can look. I've created the issue to show me the exact HTML of that particular form field. I can turn it really easily. The name of this input is a message, probably not that sensitive in the context of this application. But if the name of that field was SSN or social or CC number or credit card or any of those things, then I want to go back to the application and see if that's actually what that is, and then file that and then report that as an issue, because you don't want to have autocomplete enabled on that kind of sensitive information. Right? So that's just an example of how I use it. I keep that in there all the time. And then you can extend this, right? You see I have a line break right here. Check for autocomplete on form fields. Just add another regex. Just line break, add another rule. That makes another issue. And you can put it in as long as you want. You can have 30, 40 checks in there. Be a long script. But Burp would do all that for you and create your issues for you. So if you have some passive things you want to look for that Burp isn't looking for by itself, bam, there's your capability. Okay. Another way I use this is Regex Extraction. Now, remember when I was talking about the grep extract payloads, that there's a limitation there? Well, the limitation is, remember when we pull out that password reset question, there's only one password reset question on the page, right? Well, sometimes you see 3, 4, or 5 password reset questions. What if you wanted to grep all of those out of there? Do grep rules pull any more than one match for those that use it? No, grep rules only pull one match. So if there's 5 pieces of information that I want on that page, and they all have the same regex, it's only going to pull the first one. And I'll miss out on the rest of it. And I'll show you an example of where I've actually ran into this and where I needed this particular capability. So let's go over here to, in fact, messages is the right place. So say I wanted to harvest usernames from this functionality. You can see inside the parentheses next to each of these users, I've got a username, right? Well, that's easy. I can just go into HTML and do that now. But what if I had 35 pages of messages, and each of those pages had potential different usernames on them? Well, I would want to use Intruder to then very quickly request all 35 pages and then pull out the usernames from each of those pages. But our grep rules only pull one response. They'll only get the first username on each page. And so using this Python scripter, we can say, hey, every time you see a request or a response that's coming back to Intruder that has this regex, pull all the data out. Okay? So let's do that real quick. I'm going to use this particular, and I think I've already got this in Burp. So let's go to the proxy. Let's find where that's at, right here. Right-click it, send it over to Intruder. And so what we want to do here with Intruder is we just want to cycle through all the pages, right? That's all we're trying to do. It's just cycle through the pages. Here there's only 2 pages, 0 and 1. But there may be 35 pages, then you never know. But here we're trying to cycle through the pages. So we'll do that. We'll go over to payloads. And since I already know there's only 2 pages, we'll do a 0 and a 1. Let me make sure I got all my configuration stuff here. Okay, yeah. So now I can go ahead and I can run that. And I can go in here, and of course I've got all the messages there. Now I want to go and do my previous grep rule approach and kind of show you what that would look like. So I can go into my options. I can do grep extract, add, and let's go down and create a regex for the username, which would be inside parentheses right there. Use regex and hit OK. And my results show me 1 username, but I want all 5 of them. Okay, I want all 5 of them every time I cycle through a page, and that's where the script comes in. So what it says is okay if it's a request, and if it's coming back from it, if it's not is request. So if it's a response and it's coming back to the Intruder tool, then I want to run this regex and I want to print out the matches. So let's go and let's grab. We can actually grab our regex straight from our rule that we just created, which is kind of handy. I'm just going to copy and paste this whole thing. Actually, I probably should have did this part first. So let's get this first. Take our script, put it in our scripter tab. Then let's go fetch our regex and replace this right here because that's the regex we're looking for. Now our script's set up. Let's go run the attack again. Find where I'm at. Okay. Attack, repeat. The attack repeated. Once again, you still only see one there, right? But I outputted the information to here. And what do I see? All my usernames. Okay? So, where does this work for me? I had this particular attack before. Another place that I ran into this particular attack was on a user, an administrative user management page where I had 10 pages of users, and I wanted to extract particular pieces of information about each user that was being shown to me. But there was 10 users per page. Well, this is exactly where this came from. I was able to use that behavior to kind of go through and pull it all back. How am I doing on time? I'm getting there. Okay. So, last thing I wanted to cover, I think it's the last one. Yep. Bypassing client-side anti-automation. Hopefully this isn't something you run into often, because this shows shows the developer using extremely poor judgment when they're developing security installs. So I've seen an application before use like a JavaScript to do some sort of quick algorithm based on some input. It's just basically they're just using JavaScript to do some calculation that they expect to get back in a request. And because an automated tool, if we're trying to guess a username or password, for instance, because an automated tool is just making direct requests to the server and it doesn't have JavaScript running within it, it won't have that information. And so it would be very, very easy to spot a bot. Okay, so let's go in here and actually try to break into this particular application. Let's log out, log in, and if I do a username we know exists, but I'd say I don't know the password, and I hit enter, it says invalid username and password. I could try something else. Tim, blah, blah, blah. Try again, invalid username and password. I could do that a whole bunch of times manually, and it would work in the browser, but doing that is slow, right? We want to automate that particular attack. So let's go into Burp. I'm going to close out these windows because they're annoying. So we'll go into Burp, our history. We'll find that request. There's our login request right there. We can right click or zoom in on it a little bit, and you can see the issue here, right? You see username, Tim, password. You see this nonce here and a token. Well, that nonce and that token probably somehow involved in this anti-automation scheme. Okay? I could look at the response to the login page, scroll down to the bottom, look at the JavaScript, and determine very quickly what that logic is. It's taken the nonce and it's taken the provided password, it's putting them together, it's MD5ing it, and that's your token. Very, very easy to replicate in a script, right? But if you're just blindly making this request, it's going to be detected as a bot. So I'm going to go and I'll show you this. We'll right click it. The request, send to Intruder. The position we're interested in is the password. Let's actually clear them all. Password's the right password, by the way. So we start the attack and we notice real quickly that even the right password didn't work. None of them authenticated correctly. All of them the responses are exactly the same, and the reason being is because we have bot detected, right? It didn't do the proper calculations. And so this is a perfect opportunity for us to use this Python scripter thing again. I can replicate that logic. I can say, hey, the message is a request, and it's coming from Intruder, and I want to take the nonce, I want to take the password, I want to MD5, I want to replace the value in the token, and then it should work. Okay? So let's take our script, copy it, put it here in the scripter tab, and then replicate this behavior again. But this time we're going to intercept it. So we do Tim, and we'll make it a bad password and log in. So we have this here, which gives me the proper nonce for this particular request. I want to right click it, send it to Intruder. Positions, once again, we're only interested in the password here because we're trying to crack somebody's password. Payloads. Blah, 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 blah. Correct password. Another fake, and start the attack. And here we can obviously see that when it landed on password, it properly authenticated, and then because it was properly authenticated, some other stuff happened in the rest of the request. But you can see very clearly that this time it worked. We bypassed that client-side anti-automation control just using some simple Python logic in the Python scripter. These last 4 examples are common things that I come across actually quite a bit, where Python scripter makes it really, really easy to bypass. Otherwise, you're looking at creating, a custom Python script that you're going to have to account for, TLS and threading and all this other stuff that's already built into Burp for you. Take advantage of Burp's capability, use the Python scripter stuff, and make it easy on yourself. 10, 20 lines of code, and you'll probably have what you need to have. Okay? All right, so that pretty much covers what I want to talk about. So some of the goods, like this stuff here, a lot of stuff I talked about earlier, renaming tags, very simple Burp stuff. I've got a project on my website called Burp Visual Aids. Most of that stuff is there. A lot of it's pictures and kind of arrows pointing to. This is how you set it up. There's a lot more of those there than I talked about here, but I encourage you to check it out. The gist page is where I'm going to post all the scripts I just went over, so you'll be able to go there and pull them down and kind of use it as a starting point to develop your own. They're not there yet. They will be, so keep an eye on that. These are the other resources that I came across when I was actually trying to figure out how to use Python scripter. The Python scripter example, really, really basic example, didn't help me a whole lot. So digging through the source code, which is the second link, is really where I started beginning to understand how to do it. And so moving forward, I'm going to try to demystify that and create some documentation so that you don't have to dig through the source code yourself. You can just come to my website or whatever and kind of see how to actually write those. Okay. So that pretty much wraps things up. If you enjoyed this kind of stuff, my whole new business that I just started is focused completely on the practical application of stuff, right? Whether it be theory, vulnerability theory, tools. Something that I always have enjoyed, something I found myself excelling at, was just being able to practically apply stuff that other people are doing. I'm not a great creative thinker. I don't come up with a whole lot of new things or new ideas, but I'm pretty good at taking something somebody else did and practically applying it to my job. Okay? So I spent a lot of time focusing on sharing that. I do it through my blog, I do it through my class. So I encourage you, if you need any kind of consulting in that regard, training in that area, or some assistance in Python related development, so on and so forth, hit me up. Otherwise, we're running pretty close on time. I think that we need to wrap. Do we have any time for questions?
Time for one.
Time for one question. We got time for questions, and I think we've got stuff to give away too. I'm probably yell at this because I'm terrible at like trying to come up with questions. Who has a question? Okay, you. What's up?
I was just saying, in your demo, was it the free license or the
Pro? Okay. Now I can't say that all of it requires Pro, but I use Pro for all my demos. I think Python scripter is usable in the free version. Some of the other stuff not so much, like scanning the find insertion points, not available in the free version. Sorry, very good.
The bash, buddy.
Any other questions? Come on, it's not free as well. Up there.
No, I would just kind of use a different method from what you did for the scripting. I was just thinking maybe share it.
Sure.
Like I would write it in bash and then I will run it through the proxy and forward it to Perl with proxy.
Okay.
Interpreter. Basically just have it run with the Burp proxy.
Okay. Yeah, so that's one way to do it. I don't think you would get full capability, and basically what he was saying was he'll do something like Perl or something on the bash command line to get stuff into Burp and then use some of the capability in Burp through that, which is certainly possible. I was actually working on a REST web service that didn't have a test harness yesterday, and I was having to use curl to make the request in order to get it in Burp, so then I could test it. So yeah, that's a very common approach as well. Big one? Anybody else have a question? What's up?
Might be a long answer to that. How do you deal with public key ends in Burp?
Ooh, I haven't do that yet.
Up to you.
I know.
but do you want to know how I deal with that? How I dealt with mobile tests? And his question was how do I deal with key pinning? The way that I've done it is, and this is like super cheesy answer here, easy mode. I just ask them to roll me a binary that doesn't have a pin. To be flat out honest with you, that's how I've done it with mobile apps. And typically we're dealing with source code and we're working directly with developers, at least we're at Invisium. So I would just ask them, I would say, roll me a binary without it. Because otherwise it becomes very painful. Absolutely. Now that's a challenge I've not ran into yet, but when I do, I'll find a solution and then I'll put it out somewhere. We have time? Thank you everyone, appreciate it. Have a good day.